Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole of 4th District of Oklahoma. This is another one of our weekly congressional chats. In some ways, it's been a pretty disappointing week in Washington, D.C. because we've seen partisanship in extreme measure. The Congress did pass, the House just passed, a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. There's a lot of good things in that bill, things that certainly I supported. Additional money in particular for vaccine development and distribution. That's an important thing. An extension of unemployment differences, $1,400 checks for Americans. However, if you look at the package as a whole, there's a lot of things in there that honestly don't have much to do with coronavirus relief. We've spent tens of billions of dollars on bailing out multi-employer pension funds that, again, were badly run, and we did it with no reforms. We've sent hundreds of billions of dollars to states and localities that didn't need it. In some cases, targeting it to obviously favored pet projects by leadership. The city of San Francisco is going to have about 90% of its debt taken care of by coronavirus relief. I think that's pretty hard to justify. I think we had other things that, again, what might be worthy: additional money for the National Endowment of the Arts, additional money for the National Endowment of Humanities, additional money for museums and libraries. Those are all good things, but frankly don't have a lot to do with coronavirus relief and added to the cost of the package. It didn't have to be this way. Last year, as the pandemic overtook us, we passed 5 bills in a bipartisan fashion. Overwhelming majorities of Republicans and Democrats, a Republican president, a Republican Senate, a Democratic House working together. Those 5 bills, by the way, are the real story of relief because they collectively doubled the amount of money that we spent in this most recent bill, and they got the money in the right hands early, and it's making a difference. You know, we know that we have serious problems associated with coronavirus. We know those problems are going to be with us for a while. But it's worth noting that we now have 3 vaccines, and we also, at an accelerating rate of vaccination, we also created 340+ thousand jobs last month. It suggests that the recovery, both in terms of vaccines and in terms of the economy, is well underway. This $1.9 trillion program could have probably been halved and still have been more than enough to do the job. But the impact of the debt that we've laid on the American people will be with us for a long time. Frankly, I think you'll see it express itself in more rapid inflation in the months ahead. And that's unfortunate. And we're already seeing the impact of, I think, some really bad policy decisions by the new administration. No question, we have a crisis on our southern border right now. Why? Because President Biden decided to reverse the tough on the border policies of President Trump, and all of a sudden we have tens of thousands of more migrants. We basically invited them to come and remove the deterrence that we had in place. That's dangerous. It's dangerous in terms of crime, it's dangerous in terms of drugs, it's dangerous in terms of importing more coronavirus into the country. In addition to that, we saw some really bad decisions by the administration in terms of energy policy, canceling the Keystone Pipeline, limiting, actually freezing the issuance of new oil and gas leases on federal lands. All those things are going to lead to higher prices at the pump for every single American. And all those things jeopardize the hard-won energy independence that America's achieved over the last few years, putting us in a position for the first time in decades when we couldn't be blackmailed by foreign countries. And now finally this coronavirus relief bill, which again is much more of a liberal special interest wish list than it is of targeted relief that will help Americans. So I find myself disappointed in that. We had some other bills on the floor this week, misguided gun control bills, frankly, union boss giveaway bill. Those things passed, but they passed narrowly and they passed along partisan lines. They're not likely to get through the United States Senate. That's simply no way to legislate when we've got serious problems in front of us, both in terms of finishing the job in terms of coronavirus and restoring the lost jobs and economic opportunity that virus cost us over the last year. Those are the areas we should be focused on. That and getting kids back into school, where we also seem to have problems. In this recent coronavirus bill, we have, again, tens of billions of dollars targeted to schools, but no requirement that they actually reopen and offer a 5-day-a-week educational services for children. That's a mistake. Every study we have shows that teachers and kids can be and should be in school. The consequences of not having those children in school is tremendous for them. And frankly, the safety is pretty well established now by the Center for Disease Control. So I wish we would get away from the partisanship and the polarization and work as we did last year in a bipartisan way, in a pragmatic way, in a targeted way, providing relief and help to the American people at a difficult time. Let me end with this. Today happens to be the 1-year anniversary of the coronavirus crisis, that is the declaring of a national health emergency to deal with this disease. On that day, we had lost 38 Americans to the disease. At this point, a year later, we've lost 500,000. So I don't think there's any question about the severity of the crisis that we've gone through. What impresses me, though, is the resilience of the American people through it all, and their determination both to fight through it, to help people, and to restore the economy. And frankly, government's played an important role in that. I'm incredibly proud of the investments that we've made to get us 3 working vaccines in a year, less than a year really. We already have over 50 million Americans who've received at least the first dose of vaccines. That number grows by about 2 million each and every day. And we'll be able to soon have vaccine availability to every single American that wants one. And I would urge all of you, if you have the opportunity to get vaccinated, please do so. It's important for you, it's important for your family. It's frankly important to make sure that we get on top of this disease and get it behind us. But again, it's an extraordinary thing to have done this in less than a year. I just remind you, the average length of time to develop a vaccine is 10 to 15 years. The fastest vaccine ever developed was 4 years. And yet, in 10 months, essentially, we had a vaccine developed, and by the 11th month, we were beginning to distribute it to over 1 million Americans a day. That's an extraordinary accomplishment, one that we should be proud of, and it's a sign of what the American people can do when they're given the opportunity, the leadership, and the resources to actually achieve things. So I look forward to trying to restore that kind of attitude, that kind of spirit, and that kind of effectiveness. And I know we can do it because we've done it in the past. But this was not the best week in Washington, D.C. We got to work hard. We got to do better.